it's Kim. So this is the Israeli nuclear program. Pretty much, Kennedy was concerned that Israel would get nuclear enrichment, and so there was a little bit of confusion during like the 1961 to 62 time frame. The original document that I was looking at was called Kennedy, Damona, and the Proliferation Problem. So basically, to enrich uranium, to make nuclear weapons. They claim that they started the nuclear thing just so they could get energy. But I think if they made modifications, it's possible they could have had nuclear weaponry. But it's just weird that we're dealing with all these countries that have nuclear weapons. And, obviously it's mutually assured destruction if they can enrich it to make to go on a warhead and then, kill millions, injure others, possibly radiate the entire world. You know what I mean? So it's like, while I'm looking at Israel and Iran, just because there was stuff going on way back and they've been trying to do this forever. And it's kind of in a way a little bit hypocritical, like, oh, you can't have nuclear weapons, but we can. You know what I mean? I'm just saying, like, even for the US to kind of like be kind of like, no, you can't have them. But I get why, because Iran is pretty much like death to America, death to blah, 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 all these people. And just, it's a vicious cycle. But anyway, let's go on with this document. It's concerned about nuclear weapons potential with John F. Kennedy. Let me see. So it says a second visit. The AEC visit and the ben-gurion Kennedy meeting helped clear the air a bit, but the wary view embodied in the NIE shaped U.S. perceptions of the Damona project. The Kennedy administration held to its conviction that it was necessary to monitor Damona not only to resolve American concerns about nuclear proliferation, but also to calm regional anxieties about an Israeli nuclear threat. In this context, the United States did not want to continue to be the only country that guaranteed the peaceful nature of Damona to the Arab countries. Hence, during the months after the meetings, State Department officials tried to follow up President Kennedy's interest in having scientists from neutral nations, such as Sweden, visit the Damona plant. The British also favored such ideas, but they sought U.S. pressure to induce the Israelis to accept inspection visits by the International Atomic Energy Agency. The Kennedy administration believed that IAEA inspections of Damona were a valid long-term goal, but recognized that a second visit by U.S. scientists was necessary if a visit by neutrals could not be arranged. The talks with the Swedes did not pan out. By June of 1962, the Kennedy administration decided to undertake the responsibility once more. On 26th of September 1962, after repeated requests over several months, a second American visit to Damona finally took place. Until recently, little was known about that visit, except that Ambassador Walworth Barber, or Barbell, I don't know, referred to it as an unduly restricted to no more than 45 minutes. Also, the late Professor Yuval Naaman, at the time serving as the scientific director of the SOREC Nuclear Research Center and the official host of the American AEC visitors, was cited in Israel in the bomb to the effect that the visit was a deliberate trick. The word trick was used, but was not cited in the book. He devised and executed to ease American pressure for a second formal visit in Damona. This collection includes archival material that sheds light on the second visit. The key document is a memo written on 27th of December 1962 by Deputy Director of the Bureau of Near Eastern Affairs, Roger Davies to Assistant Secretary Talbot on the September visit. It was hiding in plain sight in a microfilm supplement to the State Department historical series, Foreign Relations of the United States. The memo narrated the improvised circumstances of the visit, which fit well with the way Naaman told the story in the late 1990s. As the two AEC scientists who had arrived to inspect the small reactor at SORT, Thomas Haycock and Ulysses Stabler, were being driven back from their Dead Sea tour, Naaman noted that they were passing by the Dimona reactor and that he could spontaneously arrange a call with the director. Notably, Stabler was among the two AEC scientists who had visited Dimona in May of 1961, so he must have met Director Pratt. It turned out that the director was not there, but the chief engineers gave them a 40-minute tour of the reactor. The 27th of December document reveals that the circumstances of that tour made the AEC's visitors feel a little awkward, not certain whether they were guests or their scientist hosts or on an inspection. They did not see the complete installation, nor did they enter the buildings they saw, but they believed that what they saw confirmed that Dimona was a research reactor, not a production reactor, and that from their point of view, made their visit worthwhile and satisfactory. The memo also notes that the AEC scientists were presented with the option to come back to the site to complete the visit the next morning, but because that would have forced a 4-day layover, they declined the offer. According to Roger Davies, the highly unconventional nature of the visit stirred suspicion within the relevant intelligence offices in Washington. During the interagency meeting to discuss the visit's intelligence value, the CIA Director of Intelligence, probably a reference to Deputy Director of Intelligence Ray Klein, was quoted as saying that the immediate objectives of the visit may have been satisfied, but certain basic intelligence requirements were not. It was also observed that there were certain inconsistencies between the first and second inspections report insofar as the usages attributed to some equipment were concerned. The fact that the inspectors were invited to visit again the next day seemed to indicate that there was no deliberate hanky-panky involved on the part of the Israelis, but the fact that such a return visit would have caused a major delay in the team's departure flight made the Israeli offer impractical and perhaps disingenuous. Whatever the doubts about the intelligence value, the State Department deployed the visit's conclusions to assure interested countries that Dimona was peaceful. A few weeks afterwards, just as the Cuban Missile Crisis was unfolding, the State Department began to quietly inform selected governments about its positive results. U.S. diplomats told Egyptian President Gamal Abdel Nasser during a briefing on the Cuban situation that the recent visit confirmed Israeli statements about the reactor. The British and Canadians were also told similar things about the recent brief visit to Dimona, without explaining what had made it so short. By the end of October, the department had sent a fuller statement to various embassies. Davies' memorandum cites a formal report dated October 12, 1962, prepared by the AEC team about their visit, but the report was not attached to the memorandum found in the State Department files. Unfortunately, except for the 1961 visit report, the Department of Energy has been unable to locate the 1962 report or other such reports from the following year. So I'm going to stop it here. A lot of these documents I've already kind of gone through, the ones that are down here. I'm still fishing through them. But anyway, I will talk to you guys later. I may do one more document and then shut it down for the day. So anyway, talk to y'all later. Have a good one. Bye.